think like what a therapist told me or something, where I was like, I just can't believe they did that over text.
My only pushback would be, and this depends on the relationship you have with this person. I'm not against, I understand it has a purpose, but to me, like once you cross a certain threshold, you probably should have called. Or even texting only, because that's a very inefficient way to communicate, unless you reduce it to the very short text that they're meant to do. But a lot of people, you know, they text paragraphs, and that means it was, in my opinion, it was better off being a conversation. I know, I'm not against. I understand it has a purpose, but to me, like once you cross a certain threshold, you probably should have called.
Oh yeah,
because there's all
But
this
that's
nuance
another
that you
thing
miss.
That's terrible about like our age group too, is that it's like you meet some guys that like are like, I only want to call, like I don't want to text, like I only want to meet you in person, and you guys are like, actually I just want to text, like I just want to be your pen pal, I don't ever want to actually meet you in person.
Oh no.
And it's like
that's
like,
irritating.
you need to get off my phone like immediately. Like I don't need to be doing all this because now you're taking up time in my day, because now I gotta interface with you via text. I
agree.
There's that like weird middle ground. Like
I think it depends on what you view as valid forms of communication.
Correct.
Agreed.
And that is something, I think like what a therapist told me or something, where I was like, I just can't believe they did that over text. And then she's like, well, it depends, because there's a big gap in perception right now between what counts as a valid form of communication. So to some people, they may not have grown up like being comfortable expressing themselves, so they only know how to text what they feel.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, once she worded it like that, I was like, sometimes I just need to accept the fact that like someone's choosing to communicate with me in this way, and that's how I need to accept it.
I agree. My only pushback would be, and this depends on the relationship you have with this person. So if it's a stranger, yes, because you don't have any opportunity to not implement, but express your viewpoint and see if they're willing to come meet you in the middle. If it's your partner, for those of us that, like I co-parent, if those of us that parent, there's a little bit of a different expectation. Now, I would never say that the other person should 100% come to you and you should 100% go to them, because that's not realistic. There's going to be compromise, which means you come halfway, they come halfway. So of compromise to me, actually, in your example might be, I prefer to text. Shania tells me she prefers to talk on the phone. So she's going to work on responding to some of the texts that I send, and I'm going to work on calling her more often, because that is our meeting of the minds. And I say that because that to me boils down to respect. I respect that you have a different form of communicating. I hope you respect that I have a different preference when it comes to communicating. We need to meet in the middle. That to me would be my interpretation of what's appropriate, because it can't be that the other person should just say like, well, they just like texting, so that's all I'm going to deal with. Because what I would also say would happen from a relationship standpoint is it's going to foster resentment. If I have to come all the way, that's why I said compromise. If I have to come all the way to your side and you never come to my side, I can guarantee you feel some kind of way about it. You might not be saying it, but you feel it, and you're probably going to start mistreating him or that person at some point because it bothers you.
Yeah.
I'm not about that. You put that stuff on the table. That's how we don't become an issue later. We need to actually express those things early and upfront.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
I mean, I agree. But I also think like we're human, right? We're not always going to pick the most appropriate method of communication based on how we feel. Sometimes we're just going to be like, I just need to get this out, so I'm a text it. Or like, I can't even look at you right now. So it's like, you know, sometimes it's maybe you're not in the best headspace, but you're doing kind of what's best for you to be able to verbalize what you feel. And I think that's also something that we could respect more from other people, right? When they're choosing to talk to us in a certain way. Because I know there are certain times like people have been really upset with me and they're texting up a storm, and I'm like, this is just a lot right now. And then I've also been that person, right?
What, that's texted a storm?
That's texted up a storm.
Okay.
You know, I've been the person who's done it. I've been the receiver, and I've had both ranges of reactions. So I think it's just kind of like understanding like that's what they're picking right now. If they still want to do that in the future, that's where I'll draw the boundary.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
My point would be that can't go on indefinitely.
Oh yeah, no.
That would be my point.
That's awful.
Like
It is.
and that's what I'm trying to say.
It
Like,
is.
Yeah.
and I have too.
Yeah.
Like, it can start off that way, and I get that, right? Because again, we're all different people.
Right.
My point is just that if the expectation is I'm supposed to swallow that and just accept the fact that you're going to do that all the time, let me give you an example why, and we'll get into this in a little while. Deal breakers. A deal breaker for me is communication. I will not tolerate somebody who will not communicate with me. My preferred method of communication is I want to look at you and talk to you, or at least get on the phone, because texting leaves too much room for misunderstanding. It's too much room. And I'm not saying that just from my personal experience. A lot of the clients that I've had, both when I've had couples, when I've had individuals, a lot of the issues they have with them is they already struggle with communication. Texting is a very inefficient method of communicating with another human. So to me, it only behooves that person to just initiate the fact that I want to talk about something and wait until you guys can set an appropriate time to then discuss it. Don't try to dump all the information out there, because the person's not going to know what to do with that. Yeah. Like, okay, we're dating and you say all this stuff to me. Now what? So I'm just going to sit here and be like, well, I don't know what to say, and maybe I'm going to respond back in kind, or I'm going to try to ignore it and just pretend it didn't happen until you show up. Like, it leaves too much room for me to assume.
Yeah, it's true.
What do you mean? Why did you do it this way? And if you're not getting the impression right now, I am very anti-assumptions.
Yeah.
Because that's another reason why we get into so many issues. So that's why I'm not anti-texting, to be clear. But to me, it has a very clear and defined purpose.
Yeah.
So it cannot be the primary method of communication. It's a supplement. It's not the primary.
Right.
And again, you guys don't have to agree. That's just my belief based on a lot of the experiences that I've had and a lot of the problems I've seen people end up dealing with.
No, I mean, it's valid.
So
I'm a big fan of the face-to-face.
yeah.
So, because most of the time who I date is who I spent the most time with anyway.
Facts.
So I feel like if I'm at the point where I'm spending all this time with you, like, we better be communicating.
Ashley, wait, Ashley, let's role play. So we're gonna sit here, we're dating, and I'm like, "Hi, how are you? What do you want for dinner?"
I might actually fight you.
Right?
Like, but
Like,
that's
would
just
you be
me.
like, would you put that away and just talk to me?
yeah.
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
allow for those things to naturally unfold. So
Do
anyway,
people actually do that?
Yeah.
some people do.
Really?
Yeah.
You know why? Because I'm listening to what Shania said, like, in terms of the generational difference. And I would agree with you. I have a buddy of mine. He's only a couple years younger than me, but he was like more into computers, and he literally used to irk me. I used to tell him, like, I need you to work on that. I literally had to sit him down and say, listen. For him, it was he wouldn't respond for a really long time. It might be like several days. And it just bothered me. Like I said, communication is like one of those things that irks me to my core. And so I told him, like, listen, I need you to work on that. Because as my friend, like, especially if I'm telling you certain things are really important, I need a response. Not in the moment, maybe not by the next day, but like after that, I'm expecting something.
Yeah.
You can't be stringing me along for days here. And I think that's kind of similar to dating. I think when you're talking to somebody, particularly if it's a heavy issue or just something that's important to you, you don't want to allow that to just kind of sit there, get ignored, or pretend it didn't happen without the expectation that at some point we're going to sit down and actually have a discussion about it.